Okay, today we're going to be in section 1.2 where we're going to be talking about the Borda Count method. And the Borda Count is a way to determine the winner of an election by giving each candidate a certain number of points based upon the ranking. Now, if you have a book, the Borda Count method is on page 8. So, page 8. Alright, so let's review a little bit. What we have here is a preference schedule. Now remember that first place will always be on the top row, and the numbers down here are the number of people that agree with each preference schedule. Okay? Now when applying the Borda Count method, what Borda states is that you are going to assign a point system to each place. So to keep things very simple, the last place, I'm going to assign 1 point. Third place will be 2, 3, and then 4. So first place always gets the most amount of points. Now, if you're dealing with maybe 5 items to vote on, then first place might be 5 points. Now, the point value can change depending on the problem, but traditionally, it would be a 1, 2, 3, 4 or a 1, 2, 3 system. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to determine the Borda count for each thing that we're voting on. So for A, B, C, and D, or the Borda count. Okay? So we're going to figure out for A. Now, if you notice, A is right here in first place for our first preference schedule. So A is worth 4 points, so every first place vote is worth 4 points. But notice that A was in first place 8 times. So what you would do is that you would take 4 times 8, and you would get 32. And then you move over to the second column. And notice here that A is now in last place. Well, it was in last place 5 times, so that would be plus 5 times 1, which gives us 5. Then you would add it to the third column, which A is in last place, and so that's 1 point for last place, but 6 times, so that would be 6 times 1, which gives you 6. And lastly, for the last column, once again, A is in last place here. A is in last place, that's 1 point, and it was in last place 7 times. So that would be 7 times 1, which you add 7, and then you calculate your answer. And after you calculate your answer, A has a Borda count of 50. And you do the same thing for B, C, and D. Now, when I figured it out for A, I was kind of doing it the long way, 4 times 8, 5 times 1. But as you get more familiar with this, you can actually kind of skip a step. Like for B, I'm going to skip a step. So let me kind of clean this up, and we'll get started with B. All right, so that's a 1, 1, 1. All right, so I'm going to kind of speed this up a little bit and figure out for B, C, and D. So B, once again, first I look at the first column, and B is in second place. That's 3 points, and so 3 times 8 gives us 24. And then the second column, B is in first place, 4 times 5, that gives me 20. And then B is in second place here, 3 times 6, that gives 18. And last column, B is in third place again, 3 times 7, that gives us 21. And sometimes I mess up and say it's in third place, just because there's a 3 next to it, but it's in second place. So after we all add all this up, we get 83. Now for C, once again, you start here, and then you're going to figure it out for C here, and then C here. So when we do that, that becomes 16 plus the next column, which is 15, plus 24, plus 14, which gives us 69. And lastly, for D, when we calculate, that would give us 58. So who is the winner off of Borda count? Would be B with 83 points. Okay? Now let's try another one. Now, This is a slide that goes for majority winner, but through the powers of technology, it will now be Borda. So use what we learned to figure out who is the Borda Count winner. Now remember, this is in a different format, but it's the same concept. First place is always going to be on top here, so please remember that. And then last place is always on bottom. Okay? So with Borda, and as you're working through this at home or at school, wherever you are, you can go ahead and pause this video whenever you want to and just work through it, and then just check your work after I finish it. So let's see, first place, that'll be 3, 2, and 1. Now also remember, depending on the situation, I might have a question where figure out the Borda count off of a 7, 5, 1 scenario, and so that would be first place would be 7, 5, and 1. But if I do not specify, it's always going to be a 1, 2, and 3. So we are going to just do your basic 3, 2, 1. And then we're going to figure out Borda count for C, M, and D. And so when we do the math here, let's see, that becomes 30 for the first column, plus 15 for the next column, plus 10, plus 9, plus 6, plus 46. M, that becomes 20, plus, let's see, that would be 5 plus 15, 27 plus 12 plus 21, I'm sorry, 23. And then lastly for D, that should give us 10. This should give us 10 plus 5 plus 18 plus 18 plus D for 3. I believe that is 69. So I'm going to pause the video to get a quick calculation, and then we'll check our work. Alright, I did a quick calculation, and Coke ended up with 116 points. Mountain Dew was 102, and then Dr. Pepper ended up being 113. And so, based upon this, Coke, which I'm going back to the Coke, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper question, Coke would be our Borda Count winner. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask me the next time you see me in class. Thank you.